Tujikaze, jikaze. Tujikaze, jikaze. Africa, jikaze. America. Tujikaze, jikaze.
You are listening to African Father in America podcast by Simon Javanokelo, live from Seattle, Washington, USA. Thank you so much for joining me for an incredible session here of the African Father in America podcast. I am excited to be here with you. I am in Seattle, Washington, and I'm just grateful that Lavender is here and Shads is here. I am a little late. I was tired today and I had a lot to do before this, so I just ran a little late. But I'm happy to be here. It's Friday. And I have an amazing proverb from Swaziland. I have a proverb from Swaziland. It says that when a gorilla is in power, the monkeys are happy. So I'm excited to discuss this with all of you. I'm just about to bring you up on stage so that you can, just join me in this beautiful conversation here. This week has been great. We've been, hosting quite a few people from the city of Seattle who have been joining us here to talk about some grant opportunities that are available for the African community here in the diaspora. So I want to hear what you all have to say about those conversations. I want to hear what you have to say about today's proverb from Swaziland. And also, I just want to connect. I want to hear how you are all doing, as we come to the, to the last part of the week here. It's just taking me a second to finish setting up the space above the topics and all of that. I don't think they have Swaziland in their... I don't think Clubhouse has Swaziland listed in their list of topics here. So that's interesting. Maybe we should suggest for them to do that. Anyhow, I'll bring you Shads and Lavender on the stage so that you can join me. And I also just want to go over this proverb one more time and then share the 3 nuggets of wisdom that my team picked up for today's conversation. And I also encourage you to ping in 3 to 5 to 7 people that can join us for today's conversation. The last 5 days we've been here for the African Father in America podcast, and it's been exciting. Shads, how are you doing today?
Hi, Simon, and hi, everybody. I'm sending you all big virtual hugs and love in your time zones. I am well, I am blessed, I am healthy, so we give thanks. And I'm excited to hear about everyone's intake on the proverb. How are you doing, Simon?
I am doing well. I'm doing well. It's Friday. It's been the area in the US where I live. There has been a lot of smoke in the environment, so there's not a lot of outdoors activities going on. So over the last few weeks, actually, so that has not been very good. Indications of climate change, but we are soldiering on and doing our best, and really excited for today's conversation as well. Maybe I should share the 3 nuggets of wisdom that we have today to just get us started. Before we do that, I just want to recognize Kwame and Manon and Andrea and Jason and Mike who have joined us here for today's conversation. Feel free to join us on the stage. We are here to discuss an amazing African proverb. Today's proverb is from Swaziland, but we've been gathering here for the last about 2 years, discussing these proverbs and learning from them, and also recording them for the African Father in America podcast. So we are also live on YouTube right now. For those who don't know, the link to our conversation is right at the top of the room. Here is the first nugget of wisdom that my team and I prepared for you in relation to today's proverb. The proverb says, when a gorilla is in power, the monkeys are happy. So here's the first nugget. It says that leaders should always be aware of their surroundings and the people they are leading. I'll read that again. Leaders should always be aware of their surroundings and the people they are leading. And then it says that they should make sure that everyone is happy and content. That's so hard to do. But I'll just read the second nugget and then we'll have a conversation. Leaders should be fair and just in their decisions. They should not show favoritism to certain people or groups. Okay. Leaders should be humble and listen to the advice of their advisors. Okay, I'll just read the proverb one more time. When a gorilla is in power, the monkeys are happy. Wow. Yeah, this is a very complicated proverb that we have here today. And, I have so much to say about it. But I want to bring on Andrea on the stage. And I want to invite you all to feel free to join us on the stage. I want to invite your perspectives on this proverb. I want to hear what Shads has to say, and then Andrea, and then we'll continue hearing what everyone in the room has to say about today's proverb. So for now, I'll just invite you, Shads, share with us where you are in the world and what this proverb means to you.
Simon, I'm sorry to hear about the smoke in the atmosphere in Seattle, and I hope that it all clears up and it really does speak volumes on how the climate is really going. And I hope it encourages someone and all of us to do the best that we can to help a greener world, help promote a greener world. In regards to the proverb today, when a gorilla is in power, the monkeys are happy. Yeah, complicated indeed. It's very, very complicated. But I guess I'm gonna just speak from the little that I understand on people so far. But before I go in, I am in the UK. I'm in the North, Leeds to be precise. I just don't have the Leeds accent. And just going on to the proverb now, I feel like this speaks on, I guess, when the gorilla is in power, the monkeys are happy because they're kind of from the same family, right? And it kind of speaks on how all the other animal families in the kingdom can be disempowered or not be cared for, or their needs do not be met because the gorilla is only focusing on their family, and it speaks on how it actually reminds me of some of African leaders who, instead of focusing on the betterment of each person in the country and each family group in the country, each tribe, they focus on their own tribe and keeping the money in their own little circle. That's what that is bringing to mind right now. And what you said about leaders should not really be focusing on just their immediate people. They should really take into account everybody, because that's why they're elected to lead. They're not meant to be, I can't find the right word right now, but I guess they're not meant to segregate or, for better of lack words, I'm just going to, for lack of better words, I'm just going to say segregation, but I can't find the word right now, but I really want to find it. Yeah. But I guess discriminate. That's it. Discriminate. Leaders are meant to inspire other leaders, irrespective of what their background is or whether their background mirrors their own background, right? And that's my understanding so far. I cannot wait to hear what everybody else's perspective or intake is. Thank you for listening. This has been Shad speaking.
Hey Shads, I really appreciate what you had to say. And it totally, as you are speaking, I was also being reminded about what's going on in the UK, and I feel like this proverb is probably speaking to the leadership crisis in the UK, and you're there. How does it feel to be there right now to just live through all these crises?
Yeah, it's a crisis. The cost of living is an absolute crisis. It almost feels like I don't even want to comment on that right now because honestly, because I'm here and this is very like
I know.
it's almost personal, It
Yeah.
feels like
Yeah.
yeah. This proverb truly speaks on that leadership. I just commented on Africa because Africa is where my mind is always at and where my heart is always at. But yeah, I can't even speak on that right now. It's a struggle right now.
Yeah, I can totally understand. Yeah, I want to invite other voices though. I want to, just say thank you to a few people who have joined us today. Dr. V. Dr. V, thank you so much for being here. It means a lot. Feel free to join us on the stage. And I also see Dr. Latanya. Thank you so much for being here. And Kwame and Manon and Jason. And I also see Nate and M. Dayton and Brother and Lavender. And I also see Stella. Thank you, Stella, for joining us on the stage. And Andrea. Andrea, how are you? Where are you joining us from today? Which part of the world? And what comes to your mind when you think about this proverb?
Greetings. I am calling in from the Gambia. So I am an African American that lives in the Gambia. I found the title very interesting because, the only difference between gorillas and monkeys is that the gorilla is bigger. Quite honestly, the gorilla is known to have a more sensitive nature, but because of its size, everyone already gives it a stereotype that it's dangerous and no one can bother it and we have to leave it alone and let it do as it pleases. And I think that's the same attitude that is taken toward governments. The difference that I find on the continent is that people are scared into silence. People don't want to speak up because of previous experiences with leaders, being eliminated or silenced or incarcerated. In the States, sometimes you have too many people speaking up. They're just reckless with their mouths. And they don't think about how people are affected by their behaviors or who will be affected. And then you have leadership that behaves the same way. And they are gorillas. They are no different. They're usually people that are pretty powerless, but they have a pen and paper that gives them power, right? And when you have the power to document things and put them into law and subordinate people, that is where the power is coming from. But when the people realize their value and that these systems could not exist without them supporting it, then it would be a different world. But when we don't see our own value, we definitely can't see our value as a collective and move together in unity. So that's what I view of your statement. And as I said, I lived in Brooklyn, New York City for many years. I'm from Brooklyn. I lived in Pennsylvania for 18 years. I've been to law school, graduate school, traveled all over the world, Spain, Germany. I lived in the UK. And coming to Gambia has been quite different. I think the continent is unaware of the power that it holds. And it is very intentional why it's in the position that it's in. And so as long as Africa's children keep running everywhere else, it will always remain in the position that it's in. I relinquish the mic.
Thank you, Andrea. Yeah, I love your perspective on this proverb as well. And as you're speaking, this proverb is also just speaking to leadership in general, but really, your perspective on Africa is incredible. And I wonder why you settled on Gambia after traveling to all these places. Why did you settle on Gambia? Just quickly.
I had went to Senegal about 26 years ago. So I went to Senegal at that time, and at that time I didn't see the continent as a place to live. I didn't even know it was an option. I didn't know people, could transfer locations so easily. I went back, and then when the whole pandemic started, I grabbed my son. I went to Ghana. I went to Sierra Leone, and then I came to Gambia. And I really liked Gambia because it was so undeveloped. And I saw so much potential, so many talented people. So Gambia is one of many stops for me. I still plan to go back to Sierra Leone. I plan to go to Mali. I have some people there, as well as Rwanda. So I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, it did. It totally did. When you want to come to Kenya, let me know. Yeah, I'm just grateful, and I love your adventurous spirit, and I just love your warrior spirit as well. So thank you for all that you do. I would really love to host you again here, and also if you want to be a guest on the podcast, I would love to have you as a guest. So let me know, or you can connect with Stella, who is also on the stage. Stella is a part of the One Vibe team. Actually, Stella, how are you doing today, and where are you joining us from, and what do you think about this proverb?
Hello, Simon. Hi, everyone. This is Stella. I'm joining from Kenya, and I have a terrible headache, so I'm not doing so well today. But the proverb, I think, when I first saw it, I thought of leadership, and I narrowed it down to our country. And what kept coming to my mind was that the way our country has been led by a particular tribe, and for a very long time, that has made us feel like only my tribe should be up there, and that's when things will be okay. When in real sense, we just need good leadership. That's all. And it doesn't really have to be your particular tribe. We just need good leadership. And that's something that we really lack. And I feel like we are still struggling with getting a good leader. And so when I read the proverb, I found consolation in the fact that the monkeys were happy when they saw the gorilla up there. They found a good leader. And so I was just hoping that one day we also find a good leader. Otherwise, thank you.
Yeah, I can totally relate to what you're saying about Kenya, and it's hard. I feel that a good leadership needs to be inclusive leadership, and that's why we need to have all kinds of leaders, from different tribes, from different sexual orientation, from different regions. So I think what you're saying is very, very important. I want to welcome everyone who is just joining us. I see that Manon wants to join us on the stage. We are going to turn hand raising off in just a moment, but I want to welcome all of you. This is the African Father in America podcast. We are recording this for the African Father in America podcast, which is on all podcasting platforms. We are a 5-star rated podcast on Apple Podcasts, so you should check us out there and subscribe. We're also live on YouTube, and I encourage you to use the link at the top of the room on Clubhouse to subscribe to my channel. That's one of the ways to support this movement. I want to, go on and invite Brother Earth. Brother Earth is an amazing contributor to this space, and let's hear what he has to say, and also where he's joining us from, from across the world.
Peace and love, family. This is Brother Earth. I'm coming from the North Carolina territory, and honest to the family always for the beautiful conversation. And whenever I look at the proverb, when a gorilla's in power, the monkeys are happy. What it made me think about or reflect on is not the sitting president, but the president before him when he took the seat, right? A lot of so-called racist people had been undercover with their racism or racist ways. A lot of that, whenever he got in power, a lot of them felt more comfortable to show who they was, because somebody doing what they like or doing something that they with, they was a lot more, you know, visible. Where like you might not know a person felt a certain way or thought a certain way, but when somebody they thought like them or looked like them or had the same ideologies got in power, then that's when they let they flew their flags and showed everybody what the business is. And it also reminds me of kind of sort of to a degree of another proverb we did or something. I can't remember exactly, but how a leader has influence on the people. You know what I mean? So when a gorilla looking similar or being from the same family, but almost like a bigger, stronger representation, it does something for the morale of the other little monkeys as well. I'm gonna park my plane right there. Pieces, brother. Earth.
Thank you so much, Brother Earth. I love what you shared there with us, and also how you compared it to what happened in the U.S. Recently. I think that also relates to what's going on in Kenya right now. The perception in Kenya is that the previous government, was very secular, and the leaders used to party a lot. The leaders used to drink a lot of alcohol. But the new government is, they pray a lot. There's no alcohol in the State House and all of that. But then you find that the people who are just in the previous, community of politicians who are partying and drinking have now transformed and are now preaching and aligning themselves with this new group in Kenya. And so you find that the people who thought that their leaders were genuine or their leaders were were who they thought are now learning that these people are really after building their own wealth, And also recently there's been, interviews where politicians are being asked to show what their net worth is in Kenya. And people are just realizing that a lot of people that just 5 years ago could not even add fuel to their cars now are billionaires, So it's really interesting what's going on, and it's really similar to what you just described. But I want to welcome everyone, who is on stage, especially Manon. Let's hear what Manon has to say. I want to give a shout out to Nyambura Ruihu, who has joined us here, the CEO of Ciliana Consulting, Ned. I see you all, Lavender, and I see that Kwame also wants to join us on stage, so I'll bring you up. But let's continue on and hear what Manon has to say. Manon, how are you doing, and what are your thoughts on this proverb, and where in the world are you joining us from today?
Yeah, thank you, Simon, and great everybody on the stage and audience. I just let's say good morning from New York. I just came recently from Tanzania, South Sudan. I visited South Sudan, and then I went to Tanzania. And Africa is beautiful and it's promising a lot. That's what I can say. Um, I mean, even we in the diaspora here, people are asking me, why are you still continuing to be in America? Why you don't come back? You know. So I think there's a lot of promise in Africa. This is great. I agree with Andrea. There's a lot of potential in Africa, and the only thing that we need in Africa is the same topic that you brought it up, Proverb, which is prophecy that when a gorilla is in the power, the monkeys are happy. Yeah, indeed. It can go either way. We need the type of leaders in Africa that actually should be wisely, a leader that actually is focused on solving problems for African people and address the challenges that are facing our citizens in the continent. That's the leader that we need. The leader that is actually in control. To be seen like there's a command in control, and in the system, the leadership that is willing to fight the corruption in the country and fight to eradicate the poverty of our communities. And the leader that is willing to encourage our people to work hard and to become more self-sufficient and resilience to themselves in time of working hard and because we have a lot of potential in the continent, but the lack of leadership is one of the challenges in Africa. And the way I see the leadership is not only about a president. We need leaders, not one leader. We need all African to focus on education that actually train our people, our students, our generation as leaders. You have to be acting as a leader wherever the level you are, whether you are in private entity, business, or you are in the government. And wherever you are, you have to act as a leader. And I think that is exactly that actually the Western world are using. They're starting training leadership. And the way I look into it, this prophecy is go two-way, if the leader actually guerrilla leader is a guerrilla in power and every monkey is happy, it means that there is some kind of good leadership showing there, leadership that is not interfering in the people business, leadership that is actually treating everybody equally and everybody is happy. But in other way, if they say that the whole monkey everyone have to clap their own trees, that means in other way also it's showing that there's a problem. There is no command in leadership. There is this integration in the community of monkeys when everybody have to climb their own tree. And this is go also to what Andrea said, that the gorilla, if he's become controlling the power in terms of aggressiveness and threatening everyone, which is.
Yeah, thank you, Manun. That's really powerful contributions there. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. They just come to the power only to threat people, and use the power as a tool of looting the property or the resource of the state, and that is the problems. And our culture also in Africa is teaching us to respect our elders. It's teaching us to listening to those who are elders on us and those who see them like a sheep in the village. But the sheep in the village is more wise than the leaders of today who are well educated and get education from the West, and they become worse than our traditional leaders. Our traditional leaders, we give them respect because they are honest and they have credibility. They treat their tribe, their native in a very respectful way. And I think there's a great need for Africans to go back and study our own traditional way of governing. And there's a lot of values and good things that we can take it from our traditional way of governing, and we can upgrade them and modernize them and inject them into the system of government. I think would be much better than the system of the Western world that we turn to practice, but it doesn't work for us. It just building corrupt leaders that are not even willing to serve the Africa. And I think the future of Africa is based on good leaderships that actually can integrate the whole continent. Like East Africa should work toward to become a one nation, where is the borders are just being progress being toned down because we don't need borders. We need people to move freely and exchange the business, exchange opportunities, and that we need collective leadership to understand that Africa as a continent there are one people, and diversity that we have is the power and resource that we have. We can utilize them in a very effective way. We can be like Europe, like another country. Like, you know, the China is not really have resource more than Africa, or Russia is not more having resource more than us, but they are taking advantage of us because of weak leadership. So I think the topic is very interesting in terms of leadership. We have to think that leadership is need across the line, not only the leadership in at the tops or in the governments. We have to change that. We have to also to encourage the private sector in the continent, a private sector that actually think as leaders also, and they have responsibility also to be honest for what they're doing, and they have to work for their community, not only for the making the money and become a billionaire without serving the community that actually they belong to. So I appreciate the topics, and I will yell it back to you. And this is my submission, and thank you.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much. That was a very passionate submission, Manon. And I want to quickly move on to Kwame and just hear what Kwame also has to say. Kwame, let us know where you're joining us from and what your thoughts are on today's proverb from Swaziland. Thank you so much.
All right. Hi, guys. Yeah, this is Kwame. I'm calling from Houston, Texas. I'm originally from Ghana. And actually, this is the first time I've spoken on, I'm speaking on Clubhouse or any other platform. So thanks for the invite, Simon. I think just like Andrea, right? I've visited, a lot of countries in Africa, right? I used to work in Africa, and I had the privilege of visiting. I think I visited about 36 countries in Africa, right? And I what Andrea said about Africa not recognizing the power that it has, resonated with me. I think that was spot on. The continent is beautiful. There's a reason why the rest of the world continues to migrate towards Africa, right? Because of the value, not just the resources, right? We often think the resource in Africa is the raw materials or the stuff embedded in the terra, right? But it's actually the people, right? And we don't recognize that. And until we do, I think we will continue to stay in the same spot, right? With regards to the adage, and I'm always fascinated by African proverbs, right? From a standpoint that, it's always packed, right? It's easy to read how that proverb has been set up and just translate it from top down, right? But I look at it bottom up, saying that when the gorilla is in power, the monkeys are happy, right? I look at the natural order of things. Leadership is synonymous more with service, not necessarily power, right? You can have someone in leadership but doesn't have the power. I believe that, when you're a leader, your first mandate is to serve, right? To whatever task you've been called, right? When you're a leader, you are accountable, you're responsible, you deliver, right? Ultimately, whoever you're leading is satisfied, right? The monkeys being happy, I think, for me, it's more about the subject seeing results, right? Whatever task you're called to do, if you are executing and you're performing, the power now is the reward. The power is the privilege you're given just because of the responsibility you've shown, right, as a leader. And essentially, you look at how the gorilla is. There is that saying as well that to whom much is given, much is expected, right? The gorilla is a huge, it's a huge animal in the monkey family, and I think it's I guess it's a characteristic allusion of how when people are elected, the expectation is they have the qualities that are expected to lead a group, right? And if they're able to utilize those qualities to protect, to provide, and to care for the subjects that have elected them. They are naturally happy. And when the subjects are happy, you are truly in power at the time, right? And you're going to have the peace of mind to rule. So again, Simon, your topic, the name of the group, I think is fascinating, right? Being an African father in America, challenge in itself. And I think I just urge you to keep doing what you're doing. Thanks, man.
Thank you so much. I deeply appreciate you. And, your contributions are also just so incredible. And I appreciate it so much. I want to just thank everyone in the room for, taking your time to join us for today's conversation. This show is called The Daily African Proverbs because every day we find new African proverbs from many different parts of Africa. And sometimes I have a guest that we interview and we have a conversation with them, but around an African proverb. And sometimes, like today, I don't have a guest with me, live on YouTube. So we are basically multi-streaming and bringing the village together. And we do this Monday to Friday, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I think that's 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time and 4 p.m. East African Time. So thank you again for being here. I want to just bring us towards the end of our time together today. I want to check, because it's Friday, I just want to see if anybody who is already on stage has something to say in closing before we wrap up our time together today.
I do. I'd like to add, Simon, thank you so much for holding the space. I think it's a great way for us to better understand each other as a people. And I just wanted to reflect on something that Manon said when he was talking about, the mistake that Africa made really was trying to incorporate Western politics and Western rules into the way the people of Africa are governed. I think if you even look at it on a smaller scale, if you look at the fact that everyone on the stage is speaking English, right? But we learned English in different places. Therefore, the interpretations of what we're saying in English will be different to everyone based on our tone, our inflection, our body language, and how we receive it. So how can a country take on the rules of other countries that don't have their best interest in mind, that don't speak the same language as them, and don't understand their people? So if you try to take on the governmental rules of other entities or other governments and you bring that into your system, it's going to be chaos because you don't have the foundation from where these things were built. Look at the UK falling apart. Look at the US falling apart. So obviously, whoever took on those rules is going to suffer the same consequence. So I just wanted to end with that. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a lot for us to meditate on during these next few days over the weekend. There's a lot there for us to think about, and it's true. I always wonder why African countries and African leaders are not yet embracing African way of taking care of yourself. There's a lot of herbal medicine, and there's also African spirituality. There are so many African martial arts. There are so many things that are almost just buried because of colonization, specifically because colonization is how countries like the UK and the US and all the countries that colonized African countries particularly, that's how they are keeping their hold on Africa, and that's how they are able to access the resources, So it's a very well-oiled machine, and the more people are talking about it on platforms like this, the better things can get, and really, that's all we can say today with the time that we have. But it's a topic that needs to be discussed more. And I would be happy to host any one of you who wants to be a guest so that we go deeper into this. But for now, we are going to wrap up our time together today. But I want to read something that Kay Benjamin shared on YouTube. She said that, "I think the gorilla is representing bullying and self-interest. It is a vibration which supports confusion and leaves the monkeys free to do their mischief." I wanted to make sure I read that because Kay is such an amazing supporter of the work that we do here. And again, I see a few people that joined us for the first time. I deeply appreciate it. Please continue showing up Monday to Friday, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I deeply appreciate you all. Have a nice weekend. Peace and love.
African father in America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. African father, tujikaze, jikaze. America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze.
You are listening to African Father in America podcast by Simon Javan Okello, live from Seattle, Washington, USA.